What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors sits down for what should be a simple interview, only to be blindsided by a host who crosses every line imaginable? In just 27 seconds of pure confrontation, everything falls apart. Joy Behar's shocking comments send Tom Hardy walking off the set in one of the most jaw-dropping moments in daytime television history. Before we dive into this explosive clash, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because we're pulling back the curtain on Hollywood's dark side, exposing entitled celebrities and their shocking behavior the cameras never showed you. We've got the raw footage they don't want you to see, and you won't want to miss a single reveal. Drop your thoughts in the comments about this outrageous behavior. Tom Hardy walks onto the View set, and you can immediately feel the energy in the studio. He's there to promote his latest film, looking relaxed in a simple black jacket and jeans. The audience applauds as he takes his seat at the table, surrounded by the panel. Joy Behar sits front and center, with Whoopi Goldberg to her left, Sarah Haynes next to Tom, and Sunny Hostin on the far end. Everything seems normal at first, professional, friendly even. Whoopi starts things off with a warm smile. "Tom, it's so great to have you here. We've been huge fans of your work for years." Tom nods appreciatively. "Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here." Sarah jumps in next, keeping things light. "Your new film looks absolutely incredible. Can you tell us a little bit about your character and what drew you to this role?" Tom leans forward, clearly passionate about his work. "Yeah, absolutely. My character is this veteran struggling to reintegrate into civilian life after serving overseas. What really connected with me was the complexity of his journey. He's dealing with trauma, trying to reconnect with his family, and just attempting to find his place in a world that feels completely foreign to him now. I spent months preparing for this, speaking with real veterans, understanding their experiences." The audience seems engaged, nodding along. Sunny asks a follow-up question about his research process, and Tom explains how he visited veteran support centers and listened to real stories of men and women returning home. "It was humbling," Tom continues. "These people sacrifice so much, and their stories need to be told with authenticity and respect. That was my primary goal going into this project." Everything is going smoothly. The conversation flows naturally. Tom shares anecdotes from set, talks about working with the director, and even makes the panel laugh with a funny story about a scene that went wrong during filming. Then Joy Behar decides to shift gears. "So Tom," Joy interrupts, her tone changing completely, "you're British, right? And you're playing an American veteran? Don't you think that's a bit problematic, taking roles away from actual American actors who might have served in the military?" The studio goes quiet. You can see Tom's expression shift slightly. He stays polite though, measured in his response. "Well, I think acting is about embodying different experiences and telling stories that matter. I worked incredibly hard to honor the experiences of veterans," and Joy cuts him off. "But you're not American. You didn't serve. You're basically profiting off of American military sacrifice, while actual American actors who might have military backgrounds sit at home unemployed." Sarah tries to interject. "Joy, I think Tom was just explaining his process and—" "I'm not finished," Joy snaps, holding up her hand. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. British actors come over here, take American roles, win American awards, and we're supposed to just applaud it?" Tom takes a breath, clearly trying to remain professional. "I understand your perspective, but I don't think nationality should determine who gets to tell important stories. Acting is about empathy and—" "Empathy?" Joy laughs dismissively. "You live in a mansion, Tom. What do you know about the struggles of a working-class veteran trying to make ends meet? You play dress-up for millions of dollars." Whoopi shifts uncomfortably in her seat. "Joy, maybe we should—" "Maybe we should what?" Joy turns to Whoopi. "Be honest? I'm being honest. I'm tired of Hollywood pretending that these millionaire actors are doing some kind of service by playing veterans for Oscar bait." Tom's jaw tightens, but he keeps his composure. "With all due respect, I think you're mischaracterizing my intentions and the work that went into this film. This isn't about awards or money. This is about shining a light on—" "Oh, please," Joy interrupts again. "Spare me the rehearsed speech. You actors are all the same. You do one movie about something serious, and suddenly you're activists. Meanwhile, you're charging $20 for a movie ticket and making more in one film than most veterans make in a lifetime." The audience is dead silent now. You can see people in the crowd exchanging uncomfortable glances. Sarah looks absolutely mortified. Sunny stares down at her notes, clearly unsure how to intervene. Tom sits back slightly. "I think you're being unfair. I've dedicated months of my life to understanding and respecting these stories. I've worked with veteran consultants on set. I've done this with the utmost care. Unfair? Joy's voice rises. You want to talk about unfair? It's unfair that you get to profit off of American pain while veterans struggle with inadequate healthcare and homelessness. But sure, make your movie, collect your paycheck, and tell yourself you're making a difference. Whoopi finally speaks up more forcefully. Joy, I think we need to take a step back here. Tom is our guest, and I know he's our guest, Whoopi, Joy snaps back. And as his host, I have every right to ask him tough questions. Or are we just supposed to sit here and softball him like every other talk show? Tom leans forward again, his voice still calm but firmer now. Asking tough questions is fine, but what you're doing is making assumptions about my character and my intentions without actually listening to anything I'm saying. You've decided who I am before I even got here. Oh, I'm listening, Joy retorts. I'm listening to another privileged actor lecture me about authenticity while living in a completely different world from the people he's portraying. Sarah tries once more to redirect. Why don't we talk about the actual film? The director has an incredible track record of... Joy waves her hand dismissively. The director isn't here. Tom is. And I want to know why he thinks he's qualified to represent American military experiences when he's never worn the uniform, never served his country, never... My country? Tom finally raises his voice slightly, his British accent becoming more pronounced. What does that even mean? Are you saying only Americans can tell American stories? Only soldiers can play soldiers? Should we apply that logic to every role? Should actors only play themselves? Don't twist my words. Joy fires back. I'm not twisting anything, Tom responds, his frustration evident now. You're attacking me for doing my job, for taking a role I care deeply about, and for trying to honor real people's experiences. You're sitting here making it about nationality and wealth when the film is about human struggle and resilience. Joy leans forward aggressively. Human struggle? Let me tell you about human struggle. It's veterans waiting months for medical appointments. It's military families on food stamps. It's PTSD going untreated. That's real struggle, not whatever method acting preparation you did in your comfortable life. The tension is suffocating now. Sonny finally speaks up. I think maybe we're getting a bit heated here. Perhaps we can. Perhaps we can? What? Joy turns to Sonny now. Stop holding celebrities accountable? Just let them come on, promote their projects, and leave without any real conversation? Tom shakes his head slowly. This isn't a real conversation. This is you grandstanding and using me as a punching bag for whatever point you're trying to make. Grandstanding? Joy's face flushes. I'm raising legitimate concerns about representation and exploitation in Hollywood, and you're getting defensive because you don't like being challenged. I'm getting defensive, Tom says, his voice steady but intense, because you're not challenging me on the work. You're attacking me personally. You're questioning my integrity, my motives, and my right to be an actor. That's not journalism. That's not even a conversation. That's just hostility. Whoopi tries to lighten the mood. All right, let's everybody take a breath. We can disagree without... I don't need to take a breath, Joy interjects. I'm perfectly calm. Tom's the one getting emotional. Tom stares at her for a moment, and you can see him processing everything. Emotional? You've spent the last 10 minutes berating me, and when I defend myself, I'm emotional? You're raising your voice, Joy points out smugly. Because you're not listening to a word I'm saying, Tom replies. You asked me here supposedly to talk about the film, but you had your mind made up before I sat down. This was never about having a conversation. This was about you getting your soundbite? Sarah puts her hand up gently. Tom, I apologize. I think we can. Don't apologize for me. Joy cuts Sarah off. I stand by everything I've said. If Tom can't handle tough questions, maybe he shouldn't be doing press tours. Tom laughs, but there's no humor in it. Tough questions? You haven't asked me a single question about the film itself, about the script, about the performances, about the message. You've just used this platform to attack me personally under the guise of social commentary. Because the personal matters, Joy argues. Who you are matters. What you represent matters. You can't separate the art from the artist. Then judge me on my actual work, Tom says, his voice rising again. Watch the film. Talk to the veterans who consulted on it. Listen to what they have to say about the portrayal. But don't sit here and assume you know my heart or my intentions based on where I was born or how much money I make. Joy scoffs. So I'm supposed to just trust that you got it right? Trust that Hollywood got it right? Hollywood has been getting it wrong for decades, profiting off of military stories while actual veterans suffer. And you think attacking me on television is helping those veterans? Tom challenges. You think this conversation is doing anything productive? Or are you just getting off on being combative? The audience gasps audibly. Things have reached a boiling point. Joy's eyes narrow. Excuse me? You heard me, Tom says, his voice quieter now but no less intense. This isn't about veterans. This isn't about representation. This is about you wanting to be the edgy host who takes down a celebrity, and you're using serious issues as ammunition. How dare you, Joy starts. How dare I? Tom interrupts her now. How dare you? You invited me here. You asked me to come on your show. And instead of having a respectful conversation, even a challenging one, you've been condescending and hostile from the moment you opened your mouth. Whoopi tries again. Okay, we really need to. Tom stands up abruptly. The movement silences everyone. He carefully removes his microphone, his hands steady despite the obvious anger in his expression. Tom, wait, Sarah says softly. Tom looks at Sarah, then at Whoopi, then at Sunny. His expression softens slightly when he looks at them. I'm sorry you had to witness this. You three have been nothing but professional and kind. Then he turns to Joy. But I will not sit here and be disrespected. I came here in good faith to talk about a project I care about, a project that honors real people's sacrifices. And you've turned it into a circus. Joy laughs derisively. Oh, here we go, the big dramatic exit. Very Hollywood of you, Tom. Tom pauses, looking at her one more time. You know what the saddest part is? You could have had a meaningful conversation about representation in film, about how Hollywood handles military stories, about the responsibility actors have when portraying real experiences. Those are all legitimate topics. But instead, you chose to be mean, spirited, and petty. That says more about you than it ever will about me. Don't you dare lecture me. Joy starts to stand as well, but Tom is already walking away. He hands his microphone to a stunned production assistant and heads toward the exit. The cameras follow him as he moves past the audience. People are silent, some looking shocked, others sympathetic. Joy calls after him. Real mature, Tom, running away when things get tough. Tom stops. For a moment, it looks like he might turn around. But he doesn't. He just shakes his head and continues walking until he disappears backstage. The studio remains frozen. Whoopi breaks the silence first, her voice careful. Well, that was unexpected. Joy immediately goes on the defensive. I was asking important questions. If he can't handle that, that's on him. Sarah looks genuinely upset. Joy, I think that went too far. Too far? Joy turns to Sarah. Since when is holding celebrities accountable going too far? Sunny chimes in quietly. There's a difference between accountability and attack. That felt like an attack. Oh, so now I'm the bad guy? Joy throws her hands up. I'm the bad guy for speaking truth to power? Tom Hardy is a millionaire actor. I think he can handle some criticism. Whoopi rubs her forehead. Joy, there's criticism, and then there's what just happened. That was personal. It was honest, Joy insists. I was being honest about issues that matter. You were being hostile, Sarah says, finding her voice. From the very beginning, before he even had a chance to really talk about the film or his process. Joy crosses her arms. I disagree. I think I was being direct and asking questions other people are too afraid to ask. Direct is one thing, Sunny adds. But you didn't let him answer. You kept interrupting, kept putting words in his mouth, kept making assumptions. The audience is still eerily quiet, watching this secondary conflict unfold between the hosts themselves. Joy looks around at her co-hosts, clearly feeling ganged up on. You know what? Fine. If you all think I was wrong, fine. But I'm not going to apologize for having standards. I'm not going to apologize for expecting more from celebrities who profit off of serious issues. Whoopi sighs deeply. Nobody's asking you to lower your standards, Joy, but there's a way to have tough conversations that doesn't involve belittling your guest. I didn't belittle him, Joy protests. You absolutely did, Sarah says firmly. You questioned his integrity, his motives, his qualifications. You made it personal within minutes. Joy's face is flushed now. Well, I'm sorry if I think actors need to be held accountable. I'm sorry if I don't just roll over and let them use our platform for free publicity without any pushback. Pushback is fine, Whoopi says, her voice tired. But what you did was beyond pushback. That was an ambush. The audience starts murmuring among themselves. The energy in the room has completely shifted from the beginning of the show. Joy looks at the cameras, then back at her co-hosts. I stand by what I said. Tom Hardy is a talented actor, but that doesn't mean he's immune to criticism. And if he couldn't handle the heat, then maybe he should think twice before taking on roles like this. Sarah shakes her head. Joy, this isn't about whether actors should face criticism. This is about basic respect and decency. You can challenge someone without attacking them. I didn't attack him, Joy maintains stubbornly. Sunny speaks up again, her voice measured. Joy, I've been sitting here watching, and I have to say, as someone who conducts tough interviews regularly, that crossed lines. You weren't interviewing him. You were prosecuting him. That's ridiculous, Joy mutters. Whoopi looks directly at the camera. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the show. As the show cuts to commercial, the panel sits in uncomfortable silence. Joy stares straight ahead, arms still crossed. Sarah and Sunny exchange glances. Whoopi closes her eyes briefly, clearly processing what just happened. Backstage, crew members are scrambling. Producers are on phones. The atmosphere is pure chaos. Tom Hardy has left the building entirely, not stopping to talk to anyone. His publicist is reportedly furious, already making calls about the incident. When the show returns from commercial, the energy is completely different. Whoopi tries to steer things back on track, moving to the next segment, but everyone can feel the heaviness in the air. The audience participation feels muted. The other hosts seem distracted. Joy, however, maintains her position throughout the rest of the show, never backing down, never acknowledging that perhaps she went too far. During the next segment, when they're discussing a lighter topic, she even makes a passing comment about actors being too sensitive these days, which receives almost no response from the audience. Sarah and Sunny barely engage with Joy for the remainder of the episode, directing most of their conversation toward each other and Whoopi. The fracture is visible, palpable. As the show winds down, Whoopi gives her usual closing remarks, but there's a weariness to her delivery. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. The credits roll, but the damage has been done. What should have been a straightforward promotional interview turned into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television history. Tom Hardy, known for his intense dedication to his craft and his respectful demeanor in interviews, was pushed to his breaking point by a host who seemed more interested in scoring points than having a genuine conversation. The whole incident raises serious questions about the line between tough journalism and needless antagonism, about how we treat guests on talk shows, and about the responsibility hosts have to create an environment where real dialogue can happen, even when addressing difficult topics. Joy Behar positioned herself as someone unafraid to ask hard questions, but in reality, she created a hostile environment where no real exchange of ideas could take place. She talked over her guest, made assumptions about his character, and refused to actually listen to his responses. That's not journalism. That's not even good television. It's just cruelty masquerading as courage. Tom Hardy came to promote a film about veteran experiences, a project he clearly cared deeply about. He prepared thoughtful answers about his process, his research, and his respect for the subject matter. But he never got the chance to fully discuss any of it because Joy had already decided what narrative she wanted to push. The most telling moment came after Tom left, when Joy's own co-hosts gently pushed back against her behavior. Sarah, Sunny, and even Whoopi, in their careful ways, tried to point out that what happened wasn't okay. But Joy, firmly entrenched in her position, refused to even consider that she might have crossed a line. This wasn't about holding a celebrity accountable. This was about a host letting her own agenda overshadow basic human decency. You can challenge someone's work, question their choices, and push for deeper answers without making it personal and hostile. The best interviewers know how to walk that line. Joy Behar clearly does not. What makes this even more frustrating is that there were legitimate conversations to be had. Questions about representation in Hollywood, about who gets to tell which stories, about the responsibility of actors when portraying real people's experiences. These are all worthwhile discussions. But none of that happened because Joy was too busy trying to tear Tom down rather than engage with him meaningfully. Tom's decision to walk away wasn't about running from tough questions. It was about refusing to participate in a conversation that had devolved into a one-sided attack. He tried multiple times to steer things back to a productive place, to answer the concerns being raised, to explain his process and intentions. But Joy wasn't interested in his answers. She was interested in her own voice. The audience reaction throughout the entire incident was telling. The silence, the discomfort, the lack of applause for Joy's comments, all of it pointed to people recognizing that something was very wrong. This wasn't entertainment. This wasn't even uncomfortable in an interesting way. It was just painful to watch. What's particularly disappointing is that The View has a long history of tough but fair interviews. The show has hosted presidents, world leaders, controversial figures, and countless celebrities, often asking difficult questions and pushing for real answers. But there's always been a foundation of respect, an understanding that even when you disagree with someone, you can engage with them civilly. Joy Behar abandoned that foundation completely in her interaction with Tom Hardy. She came in swinging, with no intention of actually hearing what he had to say. And when he finally had enough and left, she had the audacity to mock him for it, to frame his departure as weakness, rather than recognizing it as a reasonable response to being treated poorly. The aftermath saw Sarah and Sunny visibly uncomfortable, Whoopi trying to salvage what was left of the show, and Joy defensive and unapologetic. The panel's unity, usually one of the show's strengths, was shattered. The trust between co-hosts was damaged. And all of it could have been avoided if Joy had approached the interview with even a modicum of respect. Tom Hardy didn't need to subject himself to that treatment. He's a successful, respected actor with nothing to prove. He agreed to come on the show as a courtesy, to promote his work and discuss something he cares about. And he was met with condescension and hostility from the very beginning. His composure throughout most of the exchange was remarkable. He remained calm far longer than many people would have. He tried to answer questions thoughtfully, despite being interrupted constantly. He attempted to redirect the conversation to more productive ground multiple times. And when none of that worked, when it became clear that Joy had no interest in actual dialogue, he made the dignified choice to remove himself from the situation. That's not weakness. That's self-respect. That's understanding that not every battle is worth fighting, especially when the other person has already decided you've lost before you even opened your mouth. The 27 seconds that started this downward spiral came right at the beginning when Joy decided to question Tom's right to play an American veteran. That single comment, loaded with judgment and hostility, set the tone for everything that followed. It wasn't a question asked in good faith, seeking understanding. It was an accusation disguised as a question. From there, everything escalated. Every answer Tom gave was met with dismissal. Every attempt he made to explain his process was cut off. Every effort to have a real conversation was shut down. Joy had her talking points, and she was going to deliver them regardless of what Tom said or how he responded. The incident serves as a masterclass in how not to conduct an interview. It shows what happens when a host prioritizes their own agenda over actual communication. It demonstrates the difference between asking challenging questions and simply being antagonistic. And it reveals how quickly things can fall apart when basic respect is absent. For viewers watching at home, the whole thing was uncomfortable from start to finish. There was no entertainment value in watching someone be needlessly cruel to a guest. There was no satisfaction in seeing Joy dominate the conversation, because domination isn't the same as winning an argument. There was just sadness at watching what should have been an interesting discussion turn into a spectacle of disrespect. Tom Hardy handled himself with remarkable restraint throughout the ordeal. His final comments to Joy before leaving were measured and accurate. He called out the behavior for what it was without descending to her level. He acknowledged the other hosts who had been professional, and he maintained his dignity even as he was being mocked for leaving. That's what real strength looks like. Not yelling louder or getting the last word, but knowing when to disengage from a situation that has become toxic. Tom recognized that nothing productive was going to come from staying, so he made the choice to leave. And in doing so, he made his point more effectively than any argument could have. Joy Behar, in contrast, showed exactly what entitlement looks like in the media landscape. The belief that being a host gives you the right to treat guests poorly. The assumption that asking tough questions means you can be as hostile as you want. The refusal to acknowledge when you've crossed a line. All of it on full display. Her defensive reaction after Tom left made it even worse. Instead of taking a moment to reflect on what happened, she immediately went into justification mode, insisting she did nothing wrong and framing herself as the victim of oversensitivity. That lack of self-awareness, that inability to recognize her own role in creating the situation, speaks volumes. The other hosts, trying to gently course-correct during and after the incident, showed their professionalism and their understanding that what happened wasn't okay. But Joy, dug in and defensive, couldn't or wouldn't see it. And that stubbornness, that refusal to even consider another perspective, is perhaps the most troubling aspect of the entire exchange. This moment will be remembered as one of the most dramatic walk-offs in talk show history, not because Tom Hardy was unreasonable or threw a fit, but because he stood up for himself when faced with treatment that no guest should have to endure. He set a boundary and enforced it, even knowing it would create headlines and controversy. Joy Behar will likely frame this as her being unafraid to speak truth to power, but the reality is far different. This was an abuse of the platform and position she holds. This was using the guise of tough journalism to justify mean-spirited treatment of a guest. This was ego and antagonism masquerading as principle. The View has built its reputation on frank, sometimes heated discussions about important topics. But there's a difference between passionate debate and personal attack. Joy crossed that line repeatedly during her exchange with Tom Hardy, and the result was one of the most uncomfortable moments in the show's long history. For Tom Hardy, this will likely be a story he tells for years about one of the strangest interview experiences of his career. For Joy Behar, it should be a moment of reflection about how she conducts interviews and treats guests. Whether that reflection actually happens remains to be seen. What's certain is that this incident will be discussed, analyzed, and debated for a long time to come, not because it was good television, but because it was a stark example of what happens when respect and professionalism break down completely. And in that breakdown, Tom Hardy emerged as the one who maintained his dignity and composure, while Joy Behar revealed herself as someone more interested in confrontation than conversation. The whole thing serves as a reminder that being provocative isn't the same as being insightful, that asking tough questions requires skill and nuance, and that ultimately, how we treat people matters more than whatever point we're trying to make. Tom Hardy understood that. Joy Behar clearly did not.